Welcome to All Bodies on Bikes, the podcast, where all bodies are good bodies, all bikes are good bikes, and all rides are celebrated.
All Bodies on Bikes is a movement to create and foster a radically inclusive bike community. So join your hosts, I'm Ellen,
And I'm Marley.
as we explore the complexities of the biking world. Help us break down barriers and create the world that we want to see.
And don't forget that all bodies really means all bodies, not just larger bodies, but bodies of all sizes,
Ages,
races,
abilities,
genders,
sexualities.
and beyond. Come along for the ride.
Happy Festivus!
Happy Festivus, Ellen.
And a holiday for the rest of us.
I had to Google what Festivus was.
Really?
Because I've heard it in popular lexicon, whatever, and
Yeah.
I've talked about, but I've never watched Seinfeld. I don't know if I should admit that to the world or not, but I've never watched Seinfeld.
Don't at us about Seinfeld. I know the little bounce.
Yeah.
I mean, we've watched it
I've watched clips, but
Sure,
I've never watched the show.
same.
So I didn't really know what Festivus was. And when you suggested we do a Festivus episode, I was like, oh, okay. What does that mean? Can I read you the Wikipedia
Yes,
for other folks like me who didn't know what Festivus was?
100%.
So Festivus is a secular holiday celebrated on December 23rd as an alternative to the perceived pressures and commercialism of the Christmas season. It was originally created by author Daniel O'Keefe. Festivus entered popular culture after it was made the focus of the 1997 Seinfeld episode, The Strike. The non-commercial holiday celebration, as depicted on Seinfeld, includes a Festivus dinner, which we're not having dinner in this episode, but that's okay. An that's a hard word to say. Unadorned aluminum Festivus pole,
Mhm.
and practices such as the airing of grievances, feats of strength, and the labeling of easily explainable events as Festivus Miracles.
It's a miracle.
Festivus is known as a holiday for the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us, which is great because I'm Jewish.
I'm just here.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, and we know our audience does all sorts of different celebrations, but this
Yeah.
is really like a non-religious, nice way to commemorate the end of the year.
It is.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a good gripe?
Exactly. So on this episode, we are going to air our grievances, including some that we got from the audience. We asked on Instagram. If you're not following us on Instagram, you should follow us on Instagram. We got some audio messages from folks, which is really cool. We'll play those for you. We're going to talk about some really cool feats of strength.
I'm very excited about that part.
And then we're going to finish up with some Festivus Miracles.
Because there's been some good stuff too.
There has been. It's been a weird year,
It has.
but overall, it's been good.
It has been a good year. It has been a weird year. I think that's very fair to say.
Yeah.
But there's good stuff in between. Plenty to gripe about, plenty to celebrate, and plenty to look forward to.
Yes.
Okay.
Should we start with the airing of grievances?
It's time. We got enough submissions that we kind of grouped these together. So our very first grievance is, why can't every ride be perfect? We're starting this off with a note in from a friend of mine, Carolyn. When I asked her what her grievance is, this is what she sent me.
This is a difficult grievance to share because I am pro bee, save the bees. However, this summer I got stung twice in 1 week's time, the second time right in the boob, and it's just an unpleasant place to get stung, let me tell you. The only bright side is after a hot, sweaty ride, an ice pack on your boob actually kind of feels nice. So, sorry bees, this year you're on my list, but I'll still do what I can to save you. Thanks, Marley and Ellen. Happy holidays and happy Festivus.
I love that because, yeah, I'm also pro bee, but when I get stung, I am not pro bee.
No.
Yeah.
Especially on your boob, Carolyn. Maybe I should have asked this back in a text message if you didn't think. So, Carolyn, let us know how it got to your boob.
Yeah. Maybe you were riding and it flew down your
Oh,
top
yeah.
or something.
That might make sense.
Yeah. I've had that happen.
With a bee?
No, with just bugs in general that have
Oh,
flown
okay.
in or gotten into my helmet, and then I find the bug at the end of the
Yeah.
ride. It's always so weird.
That would be really strange.
It's very weird.
I wouldn't like that.
Yeah, and it's usually during a race or something. You're not just dilly-dallying, so
Right.
you're not just gonna pull over and pull. Yeah, you just kind of ignore
Just
it.
a
and,
bug out of your hair.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
So that is Carolyn's grievance, is there's a bee and it stung her boob.
next up, we're gonna hear from David.
Hey, All Bodies on Bikes crew. This is David from Southern California. I heard we were airing our grievances, so I thought I would throw mine into the mix. I guess mine is technically with myself, more specifically me the night before a ride. I have this very bad habit of making all these promises and feeling like I'm going to have infinite time the next day to air up tires, fill up water bottles, find whatever I'm going to wear for that ride. Yeah, and then the next day rolls around, and that early morning ride very quickly turns into a late afternoon ride. And yeah, I don't know what night before David's problem is, but he doesn't like making morning of David's life easy at all. 2025 is a new year, and who knows, maybe that'll change. Probably not, but we stay positive around here. All right, I love you guys. Bye.
Oh, I love that. That is so relatable because the night before Marley is also not kind to the morning of Marley. So
Same. It's truly like a brain thing where you think of your future self as a completely separate entity from yourself. So
yeah,
you're just like, well, that person is so different from me. Like, never in my life has Morning Ellen been capable, full stop, and ready to be quick about anything.
no. And the times when I do prepare everything, I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
And what would it be like to be a person who did that all the time?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you. We feel you, David. This is the perfect grievance.
Yeah.
How just like, why can't the world just prepare for us?
Yeah.
How come it can't just be like, here's our things? Why do I have to wash them?
Why does it feel like I'm like fighting against myself?
Yeah.
All the time.
I think it's neurodivergence.
Yeah.
Is probably what it is.
The funny thing though is like all my friends fit into that category too.
Yeah.
So my sister does not. And my
Okay.
sister is very, very good at preparing things and having things ready to go. But it's funny because when I spend time with her, that annoys me.
Oh, interesting.
I'm like, you're just too on top of things.
right. This is too
So
much.
yeah, I think it's okay that we are the way we are.
I
because-
agree. I have not been diagnosed with anything, but I'm suspicious. Partially because I think I'm very swayable on Instagram, but also I saw like a message or a meme or something that's like, if you're looking around and feeling like so many people around you are neurodivergent, it's like misery loves company.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
like, maybe you did do introspection. I was just like, oh, nuts. I've had at least 2, maybe 3 friends like get proper diagnoses
Same.
late in life. So I was like, oh.
Yep. Yep.
So okay. Well, hopefully night before David can get on your game in 2025. But for now, it's definitely a grievance.
Yes. And let us know how that goes. If you figure out any tricks or for me, rewards always help.
yeah.
So it's like if I do this,
A little treat.
yeah. Yeah. Although lately I've been pre-rewarding myself.
I don't.
Doesn't work.
That's just not the same.
No, it's not the same at all. It's not the same at all.
I like it though. What did we get from Instagram?
We got a couple from Instagram kind of in this same theme of not every ride has to be perfect. And this one is one that has been on my grievance list forever, but group rides that are not no drop. This came from Jenna Smith 906 and she added, it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it really is. It's more than just annoying. It's frustrating. It's demoralizing. It like really impacts my whole mood.
Yeah.
When I go on a group ride and they say it's going to be no drop and you get left behind. Or
so even like some of them will kind of go in saying, we will drop you if you're fast enough.
Which-
but others would say, we are no drop, but then no,
yeah. Or they say they're no drop and technically they're no drop because when they get to the hill, they wait for you.
Oh.
But then when you get up the hill, as soon as you get there, they get going again. Yeah.
That makes
I
sense.
call that the FU stop because FU.
Catch your breath. Let's go.
Yeah.
You're gonna get faster if we give you no time to recover, right?
Exactly.
Surely. Oh, that is a grievance. How dare you?
Yeah, Jenna, thanks for sending that one in. The next one we got is from Ample Access Outdoors, which is a really cool Instagram account similar to All Bodies on Bikes. They work on fat people access to outdoors, which is really cool, but not just in cycling. And they wrote in, my ears getting cold on a ride.
Such a grievance.
It really is.
I hate it because right now the weather is like right on the line. So I'm like, it's 50 degrees. This is wonderful. And then I get on the ride and it's like my ears are so like painful, but like earmuffs don't fit under a
I
helmet.
saw this thing the other day on Instagram, knitting little like triangle covers to go on your straps. And I just learned how to knit. So I might try and explore this over the holidays.
Ooh.
But I've also seen it done with like fleece where you like sew
sure.
some fleece and then you just stick them on. So
Okay.
there are some fairly cheap DIY solutions out there.
Okay.
And of course you could always like put on a merino cap or something.
Yeah. Sure. This,
But that
feel like
also
this-
takes pre-planning.
I was gonna say this relates to night before Ellen.
Yes.
Not being ready for morning of Ellen.
Yeah.
So agreed. Grievance of oh, our ears are getting cold on these stupid rides. So,
Yes.
if you have other grievances, let us know. They're better out than in.
Yes. Yeah, get them out, especially these, like, little things that aren't huge.
Yeah,
Just get them off your chest. It
Get 'em
feels
out.
good to
get them out there. So, okay, that was grievance number 1 is
Yep.
not all rides are good rides. How dare they?
Yeah.
What's the grievance number 2?
Grievance number 2 is all about infrastructure and equity in cycling,
Ooh.
which we could go on about this for a long time.
Forever, for my
We're
whole life.
we're keeping it limited today. So this one is gonna be from Maggie in Pittsburgh. Let's see what Maggie has to say.
This is Maggie from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And my biggest complaint is something that we can all relate to, and it's cycling next to really aggressive drivers. Whether it's riding in the city or the suburbs, I have recently encountered a lot of aggressive drivers, and I don't think it'll ever make sense to me because they are literally in a tank that could do a lot of damage to someone on a bicycle. Some folks are not able to have a car, and their bike is their main mode of transportation. So it's definitely a big irk of mine. Bike Pittsburgh is an organization in our city that does a lot for bike infrastructure. So they definitely have worked on making our streets safe for us. There's still some education I feel like that is needed for people who drive cars, like honking and driving close to cyclists. Do not make them go away. That's all.
I love what she said at the very end there. It's like honking at us isn't going to make us go away.
Right. Yeah. I was on a group ride the other night. It was just for a friend's birthday, so nothing like formal.
Sure.
Well, just a group of us riding bikes together, and this car honked probably 20 times. And it was hard to tell. Like, I was like, oh, they're encouraging us. And other people were like, no, that was really aggressive. And so it's honks don't have tone. It's like text message.
Mhm.
So you don't know if you're being nice or being mean or whatever.
Yeah.
Just don't honk at cyclists. It's scary.
Just don't do it. That's
Yeah.
right. I very much agree. It's just like people will be like zoom by you and think
Mm.
that that's going to discourage you from riding or something. I don't know. It's just very much, and I'm guilty of this too. When you're the person behind the wheel, it's all about you.
Yeah.
And how dare someone else get in your way? But it's like, I agree with what Maggie said. It's like, how is this happening? Like, we're here to stay.
Yeah.
I love that she brought up Pittsburgh cycling organization.
Yeah.
Like Pittsburgh, because that's also, we got one in from my hometown, Kansas City, from Michael Kelly, who's a friend of the show. And he specifically brought up lack of infrastructure in East KC, which is also an equity thing. So like historically, East KC has not had the same resources as the metro as a whole. But Maggie even mentioned this too. It's like not everybody can afford a car.
Yeah.
Like some people need to bike to get around. And so why are we not doing more for these people? So absolutely a grievance that
Yeah.
there's not just like start building to where more people can get around.
Yeah, outside of cars, whether that's buses or walking or bikes, because yeah, even if you choose not to have a car or because of a disability you can't drive, whatever it
Mhm.
might be, like you deserve safe transportation, safe routes.
Yeah.
Yeah, safe ways to get
Exactly.
around.
I'm getting honked at way less in some of our protected bike lanes around here than I would be if I were on that same road trying to just cycle
Yeah.
myself normally.
I
So
think there's a lot of progress happening in this area, which we
True.
touched on in the election episode. And I think the more we continue to build out the infrastructure, the less conflict there's going to be with cars. So I'm hopeful that we're headed in the right direction.
yes, and it's also a if you build it, they will come situation.
Yes.
Same as, for cornfield, baseball fields in Iowa and bike lanes in Midwest cities or any city like New York is actually and London are great examples of if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
So,
Although, so I have a grievance kind of
Oh.
related to this. So in Bentonville, they are building a bunch of new bike infrastructure
Mhm.
for the new Walmart home office that's going in. But it's been put in kind of piecemeal, which makes sense as construction happens. But there's one bike lane where it passes in front of the Walmart home office. And I have had numerous friends either get hit or almost get hit. And thankfully, they've all been very slow speed because
Okay.
people coming out of a parking lot. But the
Mm.
education hasn't been done for how to interact with these bike lanes. There's no signage. They just put in like the Kermit green paint where
Uh-huh.
the bike lane intersects with the driveways or whatever, but it's not enough.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
like
to say out loud what is going on.
exactly. There needs to be signs that say watch for cyclists, watch for pedestrians, bikes here, cars here. Because people in Bentonville have just never encountered this infrastructure
Yeah.
and they have no idea how to use it.
That's a really good, really, really good point. And I
Yeah.
think even too with driver and rider education towards like, I will get frustrated with other cyclists sometimes who I see doing things that I understand the frustration. I understand why you are jumping the light. I understand why you're being assertive, but it's the unfairness of you have to kind of represent every cyclist when you're out on the road,
Yeah.
which is absolutely a grievance. I'm a very different cyclist from everybody else, but it's just like so many drivers will see that one cyclist and be like, ah,
Yeah, I hate people on bikes.
that's right. I can't believe it. So
Yeah.
total grievance is that
Yeah.
we need not enough education around the infrastructure.
Yep.
But
Agreed.
it's happening though.
It is. This one's kind of related. So this one's also from Ample Access Outdoors, which we
Nice.
just talked about. They talk about not knowing where to bike when the rail trails have black ice.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So folks who are using the rail trails, which is separate infrastructure, but when those are icy, where can you bike safely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like very much an access issue and a bit of an equity issue. If you only have one thing to use and it's in poor condition for good reason, like we can't change the weather.
Right.
What a grievance. I can't change the weather. But
Try harder, Ellen.
I will. But like if you only have the one thing and it's out of commission, you're done.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that's a grievance that I've heard from a lot of folks that they didn't send in. But when the car lanes get plowed, but the bike lanes don't get plowed or treated for winter, and there's a lot of folks who still cycle year round.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I wish I was one of those people who was a more hardcore cyclist, but I hate being cold.
You're in the Midwest now, Marley.
I know. And it's funny. I was thinking about moving to Minnesota. Like, no.
That would be fair. Oh, okay. We don't need to get into this. Like Minnesota is one of those states that's like it's so cold they have it figured out.
Yeah.
So it's different.
But that doesn't mean that I would have it figured out.
No. Truth. So okay, and there's one more. This one's in from Canada, related to but kind of more the equity issue, but the need for size inclusive femme mountain bike apparel in Canada. But I feel like this probably applies more than just Canada.
Yeah. Obviously I work with Shredley, full disclosure, and they make up to a size 24, which is pretty good. Obviously there's people who are bigger than that, but we need more than one brand making this stuff. And, knee pads and chest pads and elbow pads, like those all depend on your body size.
Oh yeah.
I don't have knee pads.
Oh
Yeah. And it's not because I don't need them. It's because I can't ever find a pair that fits me.
Why don't you just suffer the consequences of having no circulation in the bottom half of your legs, Marley?
Or suffer the consequences of riding without knee pads, which is what I'm currently doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Darn.
Exactly.
Grievances. All right, we have one more. This is from Elizabeth, and she has something to say.
Hey, Marley. So for Festivus and the airing of the grievances, the one I'd like to bring up is, how are we almost in 2025 and people are still shitting on folks for riding e-bikes? The amount of ableism and just negative comments that come from all over the cycling community about people that want to ride an e-bike for whatever reason is absolutely absurd. And honestly, it's disheartening. And I really wish it would just stop. So here's our hope for 2025.
Yes, love that one. It's funny. I wrote a column for Cycling Weekly about e-bikes.
Oh yeah.
And the number of emails I got it was all men. I got upwards of 20 emails, which is wild. I was talking to my editor and she was like, we never get that kind of response from folks. But it really touched a nerve with people, especially when you suggest that e-bikes should be allowed in races or on group rides.
Interesting.
There's just this like purist mentality where it's like, if you're not suffering as much as I'm suffering, then you don't deserve to be on a bicycle. And Elizabeth is so right. Like, it's ableist, it's exclusionary. Like, who cares? E-bikes are awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I can see if it's like a true race, like it has to be a little bit apples to apples.
Yes, 100%.
This, but it doesn't mean no, never.
Right.
Don't let them in. It just means, acknowledge that it's an e-bike and you're not on one and that's fine for you. But
yeah, or have separate categories.
Exactly.
You don't need to award podiums for people on e-bikes. Like, I think that just seems silly.
Yeah.
Although there's like e-mountain bike racing happening now, and
it makes it more fun. Like, if the point is to get up and down a mountain as fast as you can, as fast as you want to, maybe, then why wouldn't you add an e-bike to it? I love this so much. I also think it ties into the equity and infrastructure because an e-commuting bike makes it so much easier to get around town and not be a sweaty mess when you arrive somewhere.
Yeah.
But you're also not in your car anymore. If it's going to allow more people to use a bike, let's do it. Can we please just lean in to e-bikes in 2025?
We are.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So thank you, Elizabeth and David and Maggie.
Yeah.
For sending in your grievances so everybody can keep sending them in. Air them out.
Yeah. Air them out on your own. Hopefully this jogs some things in your brain. You're like, oh yeah, that irked me this year. Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Just get it out. Let it go.
let go. We're watching a lot of Frozen in my house right now.
We went to a light show last night.
Oh, yeah.
And they played that song, and I was like, this is going to be stuck in my head. Well, we have aired the grievances. The next part of Festivus is Feats of Strength.
Yeah.
Which my reference point on this is kind of funny. I used to do CrossFit,
Oh,
and
same.
our gym had a Festivus Feats of Strength. Like
Of
we
course
did
they do.
games around it, and it was really fun. But again, I had no context for it. I didn't know what it was all about.
Did you just think that your gym decided to do feats of strength? Or
Yeah.
did they say it's Festivus feats of strength?
I think they said it was Festivus Feats of Strength, but I thought it was just something they made up.
Oh, that's funny.
I really had no idea. I wonder how many more things in my life are like this, just like cultural reference points that I have no, like, I haven't watched a lot of TV. I haven't watched a lot of movies. Like, I
Same.
just missed that part of life somehow. I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't, never seen Star Wars, never seen Lord of the Rings, never seen, like, I know.
Okay, I'm ahead of you, which is unusual. It's unusual that I'm ahead of anyone in this particular category. What gets me is that I know the reference, but not what it's from
Okay.
a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I will just like say things and then someone's like, oh, ha, 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 that thing. And then do a follow-on thing. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just know that's a funny thing to say. So feats
But
of strength. feats of
There
strength.
were some incredible feats of strength this year in the cycling world. Two that I want to highlight are from the same realm.
Okay.
So two women did around the world rides this year.
Nice.
So Lael Wilcox got a lot of publicity for hers. She broke the world record and she rode 18,125 miles to be exact in 108 days, 12 hours and 12 minutes.
How many miles per day does that wind up
It
being?
ended up
It's like-
being like, it was like 150 to
easily.
yeah, most
Holy
days.
cow.
Yeah.
That is a feat of strength.
It was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. And her wife documented it. So if you go back to her Instagram, which we'll link to, she did like visual postcards from a lot of the places where she was riding.
Neat.
And it was just absolutely stunning and beautiful. And it was cool because Lael also invited folks to ride along with her in certain places and just like meet up with her. Just made it a whole community endeavor. And Lael is just an incredible person. I actually got to go to her and Rue's wedding a couple years ago. That's a whole nother story of how that happened. But yeah, congratulations, Lael.
That's amazing.
Incredible
Well
work.
done.
Yeah. And then similarly, there was an Indian woman, Vendangi Kulkarni. She was already the youngest woman to circle the globe by bike. So she's already
Okay.
done this once before.
Oh my God.
She set out to also try and break the record. She did not break the record, and she's actually still on her trip, which is still incredibly cool. But what's really interesting about her race around the world is because she's from India, she had challenges getting the same visas that Lael was able to get. And so the Guinness Book of World Records requires regulations, I guess. to make
Yeah,
it like
there's apples to apples things. That have
exactly.
to happen.
Yeah. So it had to either go from east to west or west to east. And she had to pass through like 2 points that are on opposite sides of the globe.
Okay.
And so if you look at Lael's route, she went like North America, Europe, Australia. It wasn't exactly around the world,
okay.
but
but like because North America and Australia are
opposite.
opposites.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But Vendangi's, she had to create this kind of hodgepodge route of where she was able to get visas. But and still ended
Sure.
up being really, really cool. And she's currently in Oman, Jordan, nearing the end of her journey.
Oh, cool.
So we will link to her Instagram and her website, but
Yeah.
encourage you to follow along there because really, really cool story and just a person that you don't typically see celebrated for
yeah,
these things. So
absolutely.
yeah, congratulations, Vedangi.
So cool.
Maybe we can try and get her on the show.
Yes, I would love that. It's going to shine a light on the big global conversation, basically. It's like Lael is an American white woman who can get more access
Yeah.
by that inherent.
Just her passport affords more visas than somebody from India.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really interesting. And there already is a conversation happening.
Sure.
You know, like Lael's attempt was like a very westernized attempt, and Vendangi's is a very different way to do it, which neither is inherently better than the other.
No
It's
way.
different.
Yeah.
So-
And I guess I like that too about Bendangi's ride is that she'll have inherently just kind of shown lights on other places that we don't see very often. Like we see the Netherlands all the time. We see Europe all the time because they're so white centric, but it's just like what other places did she wind up going? That's awesome.
Yeah. I've never seen what Oman looks like.
I can tell you what I think it looks like, and I might be very wrong.
Same.
So
we'll follow along. Yeah.
up.
A couple other really cool feats of strength. This one is my own personal one. Bentonville was hit by a tornado in late May of this year. And it was really incredible to see the community come together to, first everybody focused on people's houses, getting trees off of houses, making sure everybody had a place to stay, all of that stuff. I personally helped clear limbs off of friends' houses and roofs and stuff like that. But the community really came together to get the trails open again.
Oh, neat.
Because cycling is obviously such a part of the local economy and tourism, the bike shops needed
Mm.
that to come back because it is such a part of the economy. And just last week, this one last trail that was a paved bridge, which is so sad. They had just opened it like 2 weeks before the tornado
Oh no.
and it got damaged and they just opened it back up. It feels like we're back.
Yeah, but it's a cool feat of strength too. Like,
Yeah.
there's maybe a literal, like, I'm picturing you like lifting a giant tree trunk above your head, but like, it takes a lot of time. There was a festival that weekend too.
There was,
right?
it was Bentonville Bike Fest. Lots of tents got destroyed. Thankfully, nobody was injured at that because a tornado hit at like 3 a.m.
Like they do.
Exactly. I wouldn't say I lifted any tree trunks over my
Okay.
head. I was doing a lot of like light limb work.
Okay.
My knee was still pretty injured
Oh, yeah.
at that point. So I was just helping out where I could.
It's still, it all counts. It all has to happen.
Exactly. You know, some people do the chainsaws, some people do the loppers.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. My favorite feat of strength from this year, I love the Olympics. I love the Olympics all the time. This year felt super exciting for very many reasons. It's kind of like the first big summer games post-COVID. Well, I have feelings about saying post-COVID,
Because
but
we're not post-COVID.
we're not post-COVID.
Yeah, COVID's still killing people every day.
Yeah. Fewer. What's still top 10, but it's like dropped
Get your vaccines,
earlier.
people.
What? Yes. Pro-vaccine on this show.
Mhm.
All of that is to say it was very exciting. But this year it was 50-50 men and women. So
That's really cool.
exact 50-50 representation of men competitors, women competitors. I checked. True of cycling. So I think it was 257 in each category, and they basically like reworked the events to make sure parity was reached.
That's rad.
So that was super duper cool. After what are we at this point?
Modern
So,
Olympics.
I
Actually,
think
it
it's like
started in
100 years.
yeah, 1896. I did
Okay.
a project on this when I was in like 4th grade, and
Oh
I
my
don't
gosh.
know why I remember it, but I do. So
So there you go.
Yeah.
So it only took 130 years to get to gender parity, but here
Yep.
we are.
here we are.
And the other thing that I need to shout out about the Olympics is that it introduced the world to Ilona Maher, who's the rugby woman, like woman of the hour, woman of the year easily, who is just ridiculously overtly body positive. She found rugby and it became something that she is so good at, but also because of her body. And so she's just been like, big is beautiful and bodies are beautiful. And you can do that. Like you can wear lipstick while you smash someone
Yeah.
in a rugby.
And I love
tackle.
that she's been embraced by like the Dancing with the Stars show, which
Yes.
I've never watched that show until she was on it.
Did you watch it?
I did.
Oh my God. Can we
Oh.
have a podcast about that? 'Cause
Yes.
I love it. Okay. We're moving on. But yeah.
Yes, but also like Sports Illustrated, like the swimsuit edition, which is like problematic for so many ways. But it was so cool to see a different
Yes.
body displayed. And like, if you don't follow her on Instagram, she's hilarious.
Yes.
And yeah, it's Ilona Maher. You're a blessing to this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
Yeah.
She's one of those personalities who it's like, we're best friends, right? Like
Yeah.
if I saw her on the street, I'd be like, hey girl, like you're like, yeah, I know everything about you. And I'm sure she would just be like, yeah, like she would take it in stride.
Oh, yeah.
She's got to be used to it at this point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as somebody like obviously I don't have a following nearly as big as hers.
Sure.
It is a little weird to have those parasocial relationships, but
Yeah.
she seems to be taking it well.
She's very authentic. I think it's helpful. It's like what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's great.
100%.
But
And
yay,
then-
Ilona.
Yeah, one last feat of strength that I want to call out, which is absolutely incredible, is all the work that All Bodies on Bikes did this year.
Heck yeah.
Specifically, so we've got chapters all across the country.
Mhm.
We just launched 5 new chapters. I'm going to shout them out here because it's public now.
Yay.
DFW, Texas,
Mhm.
Des Moines, Iowa, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Mississippi. Nebulous as to where in Mississippi it's going to be because they're going to go all over the place.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and then Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Nice. So we launched 5 new chapters this year. And of the existing chapters, they had 27 rides with 1,150 people.
That's so many people.
So many people. And honestly, I think it was more than that because sometimes the paperwork doesn't come back in.
You're kidding.
I know, right? The volunteer paperwork.
Who knew?
Yeah. But we
Is that-
love our chapter
Is
leaders.
that a small grievance?
Small grievance, but only because I'm a nonprofit administrator.
Oh,
So
yeah, okay, fair enough.
and then kind of related to that, we had 18 different special events in 12 different states. So these were like shakeout rides or live podcast recordings with
Nice.
almost 2,000 people.
Hey, yo.
That's
That is
incredible.
exciting.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. So
Nice work, Marley.
thank you. Nice work to our team. And thank
Yeah.
you to everybody who came out and joined us for a ride. 2025 is going to be even bigger and better, more chapters, more events. Holler if you want us to come to an event in your town.
Yeah.
We're making our calendar now. So
We are.
yeah, reach out. either Marley at allbodiesonbikes.com, info@allbodiesonbikes.com. We're very easy to get a hold
We
of.
are.
So
Instagram. Whatevs.
yeah, exactly. So those were our feats of strength.
That's right.
And then this last category was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Because Festivus Miracles are supposed to be like everyday things that just happened.
But that then you explain as it's a miracle.
It's a miracle. So the first one I have on here is I went for a bike ride.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. And so to be fair, I rode my bike a ton before my surgery.
Yeah.
And then I had my meniscus repaired in early November. And I've been back on the bike twice since then.
That is exciting.
Yeah. So we're going to call that a miracle.
It's a miracle. The one that I put on here, because it's supposed to feel a bit mundane, but still celebratory, is just bike lanes going in across the nation. Building more infrastructure in general feels sometimes like a bit of a miracle.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. This next one, I didn't really know where to put it, but I think it's pretty darn cool. This year, there is a projected $1.3 billion in revenue for women's sports. And that's expected to have double-digit growth in the coming years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so, but actually like 1.3 billion isn't that much when you think about like all the money that's spent on sports.
Okay.
And so I think that might be an undercount. You know, you think about like the Caitlin Clark effect and Olympics and Alona Mar, but that's still a lot of money coming from women's sports, which is rad.
That's a good point. There's a women's sports bar. And boy, I cannot remember the name of it.
Actually, they're opening up all over the place.
Basically, the one was like proved the point that it's like that we will only be playing women's sports, and the bar is wildly successful. And so now they're popping up everywhere. I think Kansas City's about to get one.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I'm excited. You're right. 1.3 billion in the grand scheme of things is small, but that is a huge number.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It is a miracle. It's a miracle that like women's sports are finally getting the recognition that they have long deserved.
That's the right way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a miracle that it's happening.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Long overdue, but it's happening. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then just, finishing up, shout out to all of you. You made it through the year. You maybe set some goals. You maybe rode your bike. Maybe you didn't. And that's okay.
Yeah. Making it through 2024 feels like an actual miracle, not a Festivus miracle. We have I guess if it's the 23rd, we have like 7 days. What's
10?
31 minus 23. We ride bikes, you guys. We're not math people.
We have 8 days left.
8 days left.
8 days left in the year.
I think we're going to make it.
Yeah.
It's been a weird one. I think we've got a few more weird ones on the horizon.
Unfortunately, I think you're correct.
But I think together in the spirit of Festivus, in the spirit of Festivus, and just all bodies on bikes, that we'll make it through.
I think so too. As community. Well,
That's
thank you, Ellen. Happy Festivus.
Happy Festivus, Marley. Happy Festivus to everybody. And whatever you celebrate in the next 20 days, we hope that you are enjoying your little life, your family, your community, everybody who's around you. And if you need someone, reach out to us. We're here for your grievances, for your miracles, for whatever it is.
Happy Festivus.